In this video, I'll share with you my experience as a first-time digital nomad in Mexico. I'll tell you my favorite experiences, the challenges that I had, and also the lessons that I learned. If you're considering visiting Mexico for travel and work at the same time, this video might give you some ideas and some inspiration. Let's begin. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alejandro. I'm a brand designer based in Costa Rica, and in this channel, I share with you everything related to brand design and also my journey as a creative entrepreneur. Okay, so let's begin this video. It's a very exciting video for two reasons. First, it's been a while since the last time that I actually uploaded a video to YouTube. And so I'm a little bit rusty. I don't know how many times I recorded that intro. But yeah, it's a challenge. But there is a good reason for that. Last year being 2021, I decided to visit Mexico for 3 months. And kind of the motivation for that is in the video that I posted on May the 7th, where I was kind of exploring this idea of working and traveling at the same time. So I'm gonna leave this the link to this video in the description. In a very quick summary, I realized like I was able to work and travel at the same time, so I didn't have to be like fixed in this apartment. And also I was just tired of being locked down by the pandemic, and I just needed like some outlet, some escape. I am living in Costa Rica right now. Right now, this is where I am. And I decided to visit Mexico. So for me, that was, a dream that I had the whole year. And I was picturing it and I was thinking about it during the whole month. So when I arrived to Mexico, it was great. So the first place where I started to where I actually arrived to sleep that night when I came, it was in Roma Norte. Roma Norte is one of the most beautiful cities that Mexico has. And look at this picture. So this is my personal mantra. And what it says in English is never allow fear to steal your happiness. And that's what I say actually at the beginning of every video. And that right there is my face of satisfaction because I finally arrived to the Airbnb that I have rented since June. and it was like that sensation that you are walking into your dream. And it was like, yeah, like I did it. Here I am. This is so unreal. I had to overcome the fear of, the unknown. Like it was a whole different country. I knew nobody there. I've been there before, but it was in a very different context because I went to Cancun for vacations like 5 years ago or something. So it's a whole different story. I mean, one thing is just going for vacations, and the other thing is going to live there an extended period of time. So that was my face of satisfaction because of that. The next thing that it was interesting for me is when I arrived, the time that I arrived there was September the 6th. And this is something to me very weird. It was about 7 p.m. and it was daylight. And for me, that I'm coming from Costa Rica, that I've never been in a situation like that where, they have like more defined seasons and stuff like that. This was very different and very surprising. I was like, what's going on? It's like 7 p.m. and it's still like daylight. So that was very interesting. This other picture is of the Airbnb where I arrived. It was a kind of cool place to live in, and it was super cheap, $12.19 the night. And I stayed there like for about a week, and it was very good. I really liked it. What happened with me is I'm like a super planner. So if you know me, like I'm a super planner. I like to have everything as planned as possible. And for this trip, that was a challenge because my brain was like leading towards, let's plan this out. Let's have everything like super detailed and everything. But the other part of me was like, you're going to walk into something that is very unknown for you. So there is no way that you have all the details, all the information that you're going to need in order for you to make like realistic plans. So because of that, what I said, you know what I'm going to do is just go there for a week. The only thing that I'm going to have for sure is this reservation of this Airbnb. So the first week, it was sure what I was going to do. And during that week, my mission was, okay, and then what? And then I'm going to start asking like people around, okay, what is the best option? What would you guys do? Like, where would you go? And stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. That was a really good decision that I took there. Because then the next move, it was something that I really enjoyed. This was my first picture of me going and exploring Mexico City. And the reason why I wanted to put this picture there, even though the quality is super ugly, is because it's to talk about like the fear that I had when I arrived in Mexico. I had like this fear of my stuff being stolen, my phone being stolen and stuff like that. And so what I did is I brought a second phone that was like very cheap. And so I was like, okay, so if I had my phone stolen, then it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be like a big lose. And so that's the picture that I took. And then, you know, as more days passed by, I was my brain was like, okay, there is not such danger. The fear was not real. And yes, you have to be careful. You have to expose yourself to dangerous situations, but it's not like Mexico is like a dangerous place where you don't have to, where you cannot, for instance, use your cell phone in the streets or stuff like that, because somebody is immediately going to grab it. So it's not like that. Mexico, I would say, the experience that I had. It's a really safe place, but of course you have to have your precautions. Like for instance, walking alone at night, that might be very dangerous. But I would say that that's the true in almost every country in the world. So yeah, I would not say that Mexico is a dangerous place at all. I would say it's just like any other city, without being like super safe or without being like super dangerous. I would say just a regular city. That's the experience that I had. Of course, if you ask somebody else that had his phone stolen, he's gonna say, yeah, Mexico is very dangerous. So yeah, that's just my experience. Mexicans, they take their food very seriously. Like, it cannot be like, oh, let me put like some eggs with some salt and with some pepper. No, it has to be like delicious. It has to be like a flavor of the heavens. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about Mexico is the amount of food options that you have is just incredible. This photo right here is one of the beginning of that exploration of the gastronomy of Mexico, and it was like amazing. And another thing that I would say in regards to to Mexico and their culture around food is that there is like a big culture of eating outside. Like Mexicans, like for them, eating outside and eating inside their houses is pretty much the same. And I would say that it is more convenient for a lot of them because sometimes they have to run to the work and then to university and stuff like that. And so because in the street there is a huge amount of options and it is like super cheap, then when you think about it, it's not very different from actually cooking the meals like inside their houses. It's not that different in terms of price and in terms of quality. I think that recording on a Sunday is not a good idea because my neighbors are around and their dogs start barking. And so I'm sorry if you hear any noise of that. I just don't want to be stopping every time that happens. All right. And then this happened. A freaking earthquake. So this is the building. Sorry for the quality of the image, but this is the building where I was. I was like in the 5th floor of that building, and it was a very old building. It was nothing modern, as you can maybe see. I was with two. There was one guy. His name is Terry. I will show him later on in the presentation, and then was another Argentinian girl. And we were talking, this Terry, it was from Canada, and we were talking. The owner of the house was working in the living room, And so we were in the kitchen, we were talking and so on and so forth. And then I hear like some alarm, and I'm like, huh, I think I have heard like that alarm before. And I asked them, hey, isn't that the earthquake alarm? And I think I've heard it because I watched videos when I think it was in 2017. There was a big earthquake in Mexico, and especially in Mexico City, there was like some buildings that were falling, and it was crazy. So you would hear this alarm going off in the background. And so when I hear it, I was like, isn't this the alarm of the earthquake? And then the Argentinian girl, she was like very confident. She said, oh, no, that's just an ambulance. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I hear like people like rushing through the stairs and dogs barking and everything. And I'm like, oh shit, that is an earthquake actually. And so I run to the living room, and when I'm off like about to leave the place, the guy from the house says, no, don't leave, it's too late. Let's put ourselves like beneath this table, under this table, and let's stay here. So at that time, it was like 2 seconds of analysis for me, that I would say like, okay, what do I do? What am I supposed to do in this specific case? And so I think it helped like to see them, the other guys, like the girl and the Argentinian girl and the Canadian guy, putting themselves like under like below the table, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna do that as well. But I remember thinking, I hope I don't regret this decision. and yeah, I put myself under the table, and then it started moving like like a rocking chair. It was like being in something, like it was like being in a boat, something like that. So it was I was thinking, oh my god, I literally came to Mexico to die. This is my end. I was really afraid to dying at that point. And then there was a point where it stopped, and then the owner of the house said, okay, now let's evacuate. And that's when we went down the street, and this is when you see this video, and it was raining like hell. So we were in the middle of the street, like getting wet. So it's like one of these nice neighborhoods that you can go and live. And the gastronomy of Roma Norte is just crazy. There's restaurants, like super nice restaurants, like around every corner. Like, yeah, it's just amazing. So if you like Mexican food, and if you like to go and explore gastronomy of every kind, like there is Italian, there is anything you can think of, you will find it in Roma Norte. I think it's just one of the most beautiful places to visit. And from there, I moved back to, I started exploring actually Mexico City. This is one of the reasons why I came to Mexico, or why I went to Mexico, for the street food. I wanted to try the street food because this is one of the most famous things from Mexico City. So as you can see, 5 tacos for $1.5, and you want to see the tacos are these ones. It's really, really, really delicious. I mean, this is one of my favorite things while visiting Mexico. Super cheap and delicious street food, and that sauce that you can see behind, I mean, it's just so delicious. This is one of the things that they do super, super great. Exploring Mexico City, another thing that I started to notice was such beautiful architecture of the city. They have like huge buildings, and the architecture is just really astonishing. And of course, I got to go and visit one of the landmarks of Mexico City, which is the Angel of the Independence. So beautiful. And then I started to find one of the reasons why I enjoy Mexico so much, and is getting this type of connections, this type of new friends. This guy, Luis, right here, I met him in Mexico City, and nowadays we're still talking, we're still like friends, and I would say he's one of my best friends now. And this type of connections where you can have a lot of things in common with people that are in another different part of the world, with another like different culture. It's just like so amazing, like to find those type of things. This is the things that I really enjoy, meeting people from Mexico, and also from other countries. I mean, this was by far my favorite thing of going to Mexico, to like find this new connections, this new friends that I think that I will have for a very long time. And he took me to one of the most famous places of Mexico, or I would say one of the most famous food chains. It's called Casa De Tono, and so it's like a really nice restaurant. There's like a franchise that has a lot of different restaurants around the country, and this is called pozole. So it's like a soup that has like some corn in it and some things. It's just like super delicious. So it's super worthy to try it. And another thing that I loved about Mexico City was the colonial architecture. So not only the architecture of the big buildings and the city, but also there is this other part that is called the historic center, that is just so beautiful. The way that I would describe it is like going to Disneyland, but in Disneyland there is like the representation of the real thing. Now this is a real thing. So that's what I would describe it. It feels like you're in Disneyland, but of real things, not of representation of the real things. So it's really beautiful. This is their, I would say, I don't know how to say this in English. I think it's the mail house. I don't know. I never had to use that word before. And this is their beautiful Palacio De Villasartes. And inside, actually, they have a museum of national architecture. This is one of their Mexico, I'm pretty sure you have seen this before, but it's one of the most famous landmarks of Mexico City and the entire Mexico. So beautiful seeing, all this. And I would say this is one of the best pictures that I took in Mexico. Being able to capture like the full front of the building is just amazing. But also, I would say that this is a good representation of the contrast that I was able to see in Mexico City, because you see the beauty of the building, beautiful colors, everything. But then you see some banners hanging from the entrance, and you see some blue kind of walls surrounding that. So there is a lot of protest going on in Mexico for different reasons, for so many different reasons. And so there is like this kind of unrest politically, like they are not happy with their government, but there is a part that they are happy with the government. And then there is like big like inequality. You can see very poor people like in the streets and stuff, but then you can see like very powerful and rich people like in different other places. So I would say it's a place of a big contrast. I know there is big contrast like almost in every country, but comparing it to my country, I would say that I found more contrast here, and so I would say this picture is a good representation of that I found. This is when I went to Coyoacan. Again, I don't want to take like I don't want to. I took like 1,000 pictures of the whole experience, if not more, but I just don't want to like show you those 1,000 pictures here. So this is like kind of the best representation that I could capture from Coyoacan, which is like very colonial, really beautiful buildings. This is the park, as you can see, it's really nice. And this is the water fountain. It's one of the reasons why this is called Coyoacan. It's like the place of the coyotes, or something like that in English. So yeah, it's such a great landmark from Coyoacan, and from, I would say, even from Mexico. This place right here, it's so beautiful. And then you have Xochimilco, which probably have seen before at some point. It's very famous. It's like Venice from Mexico. It's the Mexican Venice. That's one of the ways that it is called. And it's just beautiful. You get into those boats and you get food served there. There are parties that are going on there. Like people rent like 2 boats and they kind of join them together and they make these huge parties and stuff. It is dangerous because I've heard that there are people that they got like super drunk and then they get out of the boat, or jump out of the boat or fall off from the boat, and they die, and it's like very, very extreme, very dangerous, but many people do it. And there I tried one of the foods from Mexico that I was one of the dishes from Mexico that I was very curious on trying, and it was mole. And so the reason why is because not only is such a famous dish from Mexico, but also it is made out of like 40 different ingredients. And before, like that, like in very ancient history of Mexico, it was made out of even more ingredients. So I was like very curious to see how all that mix together would taste. And honestly, I didn't like it. I mean, I love Mexican food. I think that by now you would be able to tell. But there were a couple of things that I didn't quite get, and this was one of them. I don't know. It was like too sweet for me, maybe. Like the flavor kind of a chocolate, but I don't know. It's just like, yeah, I didn't like it. And then this is what I was telling you, like in the boats, you can get this type of mariachis, and it's like super fun, and you have a great experience, great time. And another great experience was this, like you get people passing by selling you corns in a stick and stuff like that. It's just like, it's such a great experience. It's so different from what you might be used to. So yeah, it was amazing. This is Terry. This is the Canadian guy that I was telling you that I met underneath the table while we were having that earthquake. And he's just such an amazing guy from Canada. It's just like so interesting to find somebody that can speak your same language, not like literally, not in the sense of English, but having like, this mindset that is like very similar, and share like so many different things. And it was just so amazing. I would say this is one of my the good friends that I met there in Mexico City, and we explored a lot, and then we went to Playa del Carmen, and we had a lot of fun. And yeah, and now he's still like traveling and from different countries in America, and so it's so awesome that I met this guy. And this is back in Salina. So this was kind of my setup situation. Salina, one of the reasons why I went there, one of the reasons that I liked it, is because I went not only for traveling and seeing places and meeting new people, and that's it. I needed to work as well. So I was not necessarily working on client projects, but I was finishing my website, a copy of my website, finishing some details of my portfolio, and those type of things. So I needed a place where I was able to focus. I like the workspace that Salina has going on there. The only thing that I didn't enjoy that much is that when I arrived in September, it was a little bit hot still. So the place gets a little bit hot. For some reason, they don't put the air conditioning on. It gets a little bit hot. So the way that I resolved that was buying some portable fans. And that way I just had like my own air conditioning. And another thing that I didn't like that much, but it didn't bother me as the heat, it was that the street was kind of noisy, and this is just in front of a very crowded, one of the main streets of Mexico. So yeah, that's one of the things that I didn't quite enjoy, but it didn't bother me that much. I just put my headphones on, and that's it. I just forget that there was any type of noise or anything. This building to the right, this is the Salina building. Before, it used to be like a hotel called Los Reyes, I guess, and then now is Salina. It's really good. I would say that Salina, Mexico City, I really liked it. It's a really nice place, especially again if you're working and traveling at the same time. It has look at this view. I think this is one of the best, also one of the best pictures that I was able to take while I was there. I just love the contrast of this old church versus this modern building there. And here I am celebrating their Independence Day. It was so fun. And with the flag that I have in front of me, what I'm actually hiding is that for some weird reason, I brought the flag of the United States in that shirt. So they told me, okay, so cover that flag because That's the wrong flag. So that's what I was doing there. But it was just such a great celebration. This is in Salina, in the hostel that I was staying, and it was just so beautiful to see, like the Mexicans, not only the musicians but also the people that work there at the Salina hostel, kind of sharing with us, like foreigners, like strangers, tourists, one of their most precious festivities. So I felt like, wow, they're sharing this with us. So we didn't bump into their party. They're coming to share that with us. And that felt like super special. I never experienced something like that, where you feel like there's a culture that is, sharing something precious with another culture. So it's just like so beautiful. And then we arrived to the military parade. For me, this was a very different experience. I would say that I didn't know how to feel about it, because I'm from Costa Rica and we don't have a military. I think it's one of the few countries in the world that they don't have one, that we don't have one. So yeah, this was very, I didn't know how to feel about it, because it was so new to me. It was very impressive. And it was this contrast of, wow, like these people are dangerous. Like these people have like this power to do like this huge harm. But in the other, like surrounding them, there was a lot of people cheering them up and saying, yeah, let's go, army, and whatever. And then it was like trying to, okay, so is their army, is there people that would defend them in case like somebody would try to invade them? And I would not say, coming from Costa Rica, that they don't need an army or that an army is such a bad thing, because I cannot relate enough to that to be able to make a judgment like that. So it was one of the most interesting experiences that I had during that time, as a Costa Rican guy, that we don't have army. So yeah. And then part of those moments that I'm like, yes, this is one of the reasons why I love Mexico so much, is having these moments of connection, fun, joy, with Terry, that is the guy that I talked to you about before, that is from Canada, and another Canadian, Jesse, that Terry met in a networking event, and then introduced her to us. And Rudy is a Mexican guy, the local guy that Terry met when he was in Canada. So we were there in a very nice restaurant. I think that was the most expensive restaurant that we went to. Totally worth it. Very delicious food. The quality of the picture very crappy, but the quality of the moment really, really special. Chili nogada, this is one of the dishes that I was looking for a lot to try, because it's one of those famous dishes that they have, but I didn't like it. I think it was like very sweet for my taste. I don't know. I'm not used to maybe I'm not used to this combination of sweet and salt at the same time. I don't know what it was. But what I did love, of course, was churros. And this is one of the things that you have to do if you go to Mexico City. Go to El Moro, and then you try the famous churros. There's a line of people waiting to get inside and buy one of those churros. Then I went to Chapultepe Castle, one of the landmarks of Mexico City. It's a really nice place to watch. Has like a really nice view of the whole Mexico City. It's beautiful. Again, I'm not going to make a huge review of the place. I think you can find that online. But to me, it's one of the nicest places that I went to visit. Then landmarks like this, the Altar of the Homeland, is something really cool. The Museum of Anthropology is something huge. It's like huge. And so I would say, as an advice, if you want to visit this museum, just go early. Just take the whole day to do this. Go early, because it's huge, and you don't want to be in a rush trying to, rushing through all the halls and the rooms and whatever. So yeah, just take your time and enjoy it and take it all in. And there you will see one of the most famous things that you can find there is the Rock of the Sun, which is famously called the Mayan Calendar. So it's huge. I didn't know it was that huge. And of course, and I didn't know that it was there before going to that museum. So I was like, what is that? The Mayan calendar. So it was a really nice surprise. But one of the landmarks that I really wanted to explore is this one. Maya Museum, I think, has such a incredible design. This is me like just being like mesmerized by the building. And yeah, it's just easy to take great pictures of the building like this because, you know, it's just so beautiful. And then I met this guy, Mitchell, which is right now one of my dearest friends. He's from Veracruz, but he's also a designer and he also travels and works at the same time. So the way that I met him was actually looking through Facebook groups of digital nomads. And he was very helpful, very nice and everything. We keep talking. And so I met him in Mexico City and he took me to visit this beautiful museum. So it was such a great experience. And later on, he would invite me to his homeland, to his home base or hometown would be better, Veracruz. And so it's such a beautiful place. I will show you pictures of that a little bit later on. And then I visit Torre Latino. And so from there, you have such a beautiful view of the whole city. And so my tip for that, which is what I did, is go kind of in the afternoon, kind of like 5-ish, depending, of course, on the daylight situation. But I would say go like before the sunset, so you can see not only the view from daylight, but also you can see the sunset and you can take great pictures, but also you can have this beautiful view of the city at night. So it's such a great, and you don't have to spend, you know, like a lot of hours to do that. Just, I would say 1 hour and you go from day to sunset to night. And it's such a great advice that I just did by accident, but I was like, okay, I'm going to recommend that to anybody now. And then I had this experience. This was one of the most transforming experiences for me. So Selena is one of the places that you can go to if you want to travel and work at the same time. It's geared towards digital nomads. So what they do is they provide like this kind of they promote this kind of experiences where you share your knowledge, you connect with other people and things like that. Like somebody said, like in the WhatsApp group, hey, who wants to do a Skillshare this week? And I was like, I want to do it. And I had no clue what I was going to talk about. But at that point, one of the topics that I had more present in my mind was, how can you organize your business? What is the structure of a business in terms of when you want to create like a creative business, if you're a digital entrepreneur? This is something that I've been researching a lot during this year, not only to relaunch my business, but now also to share it with other people. And this is actually something that I'm going to start sharing more in this channel, which is business organization, how to organize, how to keep your business organized. And I share that with them. And that's where I found what I call the curse of knowledge. Not what I call, but what is called the curse of knowledge, which is that once you know something, you believe that it is obvious to everybody else, that you were the only one that didn't know about that. And so this experience for me was really important to realize that what I've been learning throughout these years can help other people, and it's not obvious for everybody. And the way that I can interpret it and pack it and deliver it to the people is different from what people would get like in other places. I would not say better, but it's different, and I would really should value that. And that's what because they would like, oh my God, I didn't know this. Oh, this is very helpful. Do you have a course for this? Like, can you? And I was like, no, this is something I know because I've been, figuring out for my own business. But that was kind of the first time when I was like, okay, so this can help other people. And I've been working since then to kind of package like something so that I can help other people, other creative entrepreneurs. And so this is, I would say, one of the moments that define kind of a new direction that my business would take. I moved then the next day to Playa del Carmen, which is such a beautiful place. I think it was one of the most beautiful places that I visited in whole Mexico. One of the things that I didn't know how to feel about was, if you see like there's a lot of restaurants and bars and stuff like that, like around the beach, and me coming from Costa Rica where the situation is a little bit different, most of the beaches is around nature and around palm trees, and that's it. I was like, kind of, oh, this is different. I didn't dislike it, but it was like, oh, this is different. And so that was, yeah, interesting. And then you go to, this is one of the landmarks of Playa del Carmen. It's a really beautiful park where you have a lot of attractions, and there's always something going on there. There was always like a show, and it's always free. You just have to give some tips or whatever if you want to. But there's always something going on there, so it's really cool. This is me like super happy that I arrived to Playa del Carmen, and this is the Fifth Avenue right there. So the one that goes from, I would say, from the left to the right of the screen. The Fifth Avenue is like super famous in Playa del Carmen, but the thing is like it's very touristy, and so they're selling a lot of things, and they're trying to get you to buy stuff. And this is the Selena of Playa del Carmen. I think is good. I liked it. Okay, so this is a situation that happened to me. So the way that I was onto that point, getting hosted in Selena was by purchasing the nights like individually. But they have a package where it's like you buy a whole package of 1 month, let's say, and then because you get the package, they give you access to the co-working space and other things. But I had not been doing that because in Mexico City, for some reason, you can go without paying to the co-working space. So I didn't think that was necessary. But when I arrived to Playa del Carmen, they would not allow you to enter to the co-working space if you didn't have a paid membership or that program that they sell, that package. I just forgot how it is called. And so I was like, I don't want to pay for something that I had free in Mexico City. That was my expectation, that I could just go in and that's it. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm there working beside the pool. And, one of the things that you imagine when you're thinking of traveling and working at the same time is this: you can work beside the pool. But the thing is that the weather is like super hot. And so I was not enjoying being there outside. But then I was able to have access to the co-working space, which is smaller than from Mexico City. But it was really good to have air conditioning, I would say. So it was really good to have a place where you can work. And I was able to have a lot of things done there. And then I met really nice people. Hanging out in the kitchen is always a good option because, people are there like saying, hey, so where are you from? And that's kind of a icebreaker. And then you start talking and kind of measuring the vibes, the energy that people will give you. So it's really good. And after that, I moved to Isla Mujeres, which is another place that I already visited when 5 years ago, the first time that I visited Mexico. But I was wondering, okay, I want to go to the Selena that they have in Isla Mujeres. And I wanted to go there because I was there just 1 day trip and I wanted to have more out of the experience. And it's fun because you go to this boat. It's like a catamaran, or, it's like a ship where you can experience, it's such a nice trip. The water is like so blue. This is I would say like a magenta type of blue. I was so impressed about the color, and it was so beautiful. And that's inside the island is something like very touristy. I would say it's a really nice place where you can buy things. This is the Selena. It has such a great pool, and it's in front of the beach. But don't be fooled. Like, this beach you cannot access, and I learned that when I was there. So you see that the Selena it's in front of the beach, but this is a type of beach where it's not usable. I don't know how to say it, but it's like full of rocks and it's not a place where you can walk in, and it's actually closed, and so you cannot walk in there. So it's kind of weird, and it's not what I expected, but you can walk like a couple of blocks and then you can arrive to the beautiful Playa del Norte. And this is the co-working situation that they have. It's really comfortable. Has that comfortable couch, and of course air conditioning, really spacey tables, and it's in front of the pool, and it's really good. And you can order something from the restaurant and they can bring it there. It's really cool. And this is Playa del Norte, the one that I mentioned. Again, this is so beautiful. It's like a postcard, and this is me, like so happy that I arrived there. And this is Nisha. She's one of my dearest friends that I met there. Oh my god, she's so incredibly like, she's like so smart. She's so capable. I really admire her, and we really had like a really good connection there. And it's one of those memories that I'm always going to hold dear. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. So when I arrived to Isla Mujeres, and this whole trip, what I've been doing is not trying to spend too much on accommodations, but trying to save that money for other experiences and stuff. But in order for me to be able to save as much money as possible, I've been sleeping in like shared dorms. So the way that those kind of dorms look is like this. So you have like some privacy by those curtains and stuff. So you have those bunk beds. I was used to, because of the COVID restrictions, I was used to having kind of the room sometimes even by myself, even though it was like a 6-bed bunk bed like situation. And so because in Mexico, like there were like these regulations of like half occupancy. And so when I arrived to Isla Mujeres, I think the situation in the country changed. And so they allowed for more people to be in these shared rooms. And when I arrived, I think there was somebody that was coughing, and I was, and this was like, okay, I don't want to be in a room where somebody might be, like infected of COVID, right? And so I went to the reception and I asked them, hey, so do you have a protocol in case somebody has COVID in a dorm? And the people in the reception, honestly, this was one of the worst experiences that I had in regards to customer service in Mexico. They said, no, we don't know. And the ones who knows is our supervisor, and she's not here. And so I was like, okay, I'll come back later. So I kind of forget about it. And the next day when I woke up, my throat was sore. And so I was like, oh shit, I think I had COVID. I don't know why I thought about it, but I had that suspicion. And I remember that I had to go back and ask to see if there's like a protocol. And so when I arrived at the reception, this time the supervisor was the one who attended me, and she said, yes, so we have a protocol, and is that we go and check if in case if it's COVID, and if it is COVID, so we remove the person from the hostel. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like super scared, because I was like, well, I don't have that many options like here being sick, and this place is full. There is no very availability of places besides the places are very expensive. One of the reasons why I was able to go for a long time there, it was because I was going to Selena, a share room, which is very cheap. And so that would kind of be out of my budget to pay for an expensive hotel, and who would take me with COVID, right? And so I was like super scared, and I left it there. And the next day I went with Nisha, this friend that I just show you. I went to a restaurant and I asked something like super delicious and everything, and when I tasted, I had no flavor. And at that point I started sweating, and I started seeing kind of black and everything, and I was like kind of losing my strength. I almost passed out, because at that point I was like, holy shit, I had COVID. This is confirmed. And that was something that I was fearing. It was a fear that came true at that point. It's a fear that I had for such a long time, kind of the worst scenario that I could have. And so that happened, and I was like, okay, I need to go back to the hostel and to my room. And then I stayed there in my room. I called my doctor and I explained the whole situation. I explained that I had no options to go outside to rent a private room or whatever that would be outside of my budget. I kind of stayed there for a couple of days until somebody reported me that I was coughing. And so I was, you see that those things have curtains. So what I did was I put on my mask on. I didn't leave the room at all, just to go into the bathroom and stuff and, eat. But I would wear like double mask. I will wash my hands, because that's what my doctor told me. Like, if you don't have the option to leave that room, so just be like freaking extra careful. Don't don't move from the bed, just close the curtains, use double face mask and everything, and so that you don't, be a threat to anybody. So that's what I did for a couple of days, just because they reported me that I was coughing and that I was there, like locked down in my bunk bed. And then the manager came in, not the manager, the head of security came in, or I would say the security guard that they have, came in, and he said, so he told me, like, how are you? And I'm fine. And I was like laying down in my bed with double masks and everything. And I was like, and he was like, okay, you sure? Because they told me that you are coughing, you're not feeling good and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And he said, okay, if anything, just let us know. And I don't know, I just felt like because at that point I was just not trusting anybody from that hostel. But I felt like he had a kind of a different spirit, and I kind of felt like irresponsible for not telling him that I was having COVID. And I told him, okay, so let me tell the truth. I really have COVID. I've been like super careful here, but yeah, I just don't want to be kicked out of, this place, because, and he say, what would we do that? Like, we don't do that. And I say, well, I went and asked to the supervisor in the front desk, and that's what she told me. She told me that if I had COVID, or if a person had COVID, the protocol was they would basically kick them out of the hostel. And he was like very surprised, and he was like, no, we don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, no, what we do is that we put you in a private room. We discontaminate the room. We close it until it's fully clean, so it doesn't represent a threat to anybody else and whatever. And then I was like, okay, well, that makes sense as a protocol, right? Not the freaking thing that this other girl told me. So anyways, they put me into a private room. They want me to pay for it, but I was like, I just don't have the budget, because I don't know, like Mexico in general terms is a very cheap country, or it's not expensive. That's what I mean. But if you go to something that touristy like Isla Mujeres, then things change. Things can be very expensive. So for me, paying for 2 weeks of being, locked down into a private room, that was something that was just, I would be able to pay it at that point, but that would compromise my budget very, very much. And I would not like to do that. So this is kind of the bedroom where they locked me down there. They told me that I would not be able to leave the room at any point. They put me some water there so that I would not even have to leave the room for any reason. And it was like being in jail. Like, I had to stay in that room like for a week and a half or something. And because I already have a couple of days after, I had COVID. So the rest of the 2 weeks, the remainder of the 2 weeks, I had to stay there in this room. And it was just such a bad experience, of course. And so, yeah, that was my experience with COVID. And after that, I was able to be free. This is the last day for me in Isla Mujeres. I already had booked a plane to Mexico City, and I was kind of enjoying my freedom after being locked down, not being able to leave for anything. And yeah, I was able to take some really nice pictures there. And then I was back in Mexico City. And then after that crazy experience, all I wanted to do is just go back to Mexico City and be able to work and focus on work because, I had some plans for the amount of work that I wanted to get done in Mexico. But because of the COVID situation, I just had no energy to work whatsoever, of course. So I was delayed. So I took a couple of weeks to work. And so one of the things that I had to deal with was with the low amount of energy that I was feeling the other days. I think I kind of feel still, even though it was like a lot of months ago. But that lack of energy would be with me like for a couple of months after that, and also some cough, some occasional dry cough. But other than that, I was able to make it. I was able to survive. I have to say, I was vaccinated with double shots of what was that? What was that vaccine? The AstraZeneca. I would say that if not for that, maybe I would have been to go to the hospital or something like that, because I have like high blood pressure, and so it's a crazy situation. And I visited Teotihuacan, which, as you can see, is very close from Mexico City. It's such a beautiful place. I mean, I don't want to inundate you with pictures of this place, but I would say it's huge, it's big. You would have to walk a lot. So bring some comfy shoes if you're interested in visiting it. But it's such a beautiful place, very very magical. After that is when I visited Veracruz, to the home of my friend Mitchell, and I think I was not expecting Veracruz being such a beautiful place. It's such a mixture of modern and colonial architecture. It was one of the first cities of Mexico. It's in the coast, so it's like, I would say it's like the Mexican Miami. That's the way that I would put it. But I would say it can be even more beautiful. It is. I don't know. I just liked it so much, and after that I went back to Mexico City. Because of COVID, I totally missed the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. It's a celebration that to me is very peculiar to Mexico. It's something that I find like super interesting, how they mix, things of death with God and all this. It's just really, really interesting, because if you could see this out of context, you see, oh, this is like a satanic cult they're having going on there. It looks scary, but this is in a church. So it's like this contrasting ideas happening at the same place. But then one of the things that I was able to learn is how they actually celebrate this and what it means for them. It's just like celebrating the memory of people that they are not with them anymore, and they just don't want to forget. They want to keep that memory alive and honor them. And it's such a beautiful celebration, very colorful. And so I'm so sad that I missed it, but this is kind of the last thing. I was able to catch this decoration in the church that maybe they were kind of late picking up, but yeah, just something that I missed. I visited Toluca with a friend, with Luis, that I show you, kind of the first guy that I show you. It was such a beautiful place. I wanted to go to kind of this buffet restaurant, kind of try different type of foods, and yeah, I just wanted to try as many different foods as possible. So I thought it was a great way to, eat like a lot of different plates without necessarily eating, a lot of food or whatever. And this is one of the parks that is close to there, and it's just such a beautiful view. And I was back in CDMX. And this is Jessie. I already show who she was. She's from Canada. And we went to Roma Norte to drink a coffee. And that's when I started talking to her about, my process of design and how was I doing and stuff like that. And she told me how she's working on the UI project, UI UX project. And she is a designer of products. And she told me, like, would I be like interested in designing some screens that she was doing in UI? And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds really interesting. I've never designed like an UI of a product, but I thought it was such an interesting challenge to do. And this is one of the things that I show you this, because I would say that you can meet people that you can, have these connections, and out of that can, they burn like business opportunities. And so you never know, like, you should not, try to make connections with that sole purpose of, just making network connections for businesses and having, clients or whatever. But if you focus on, just having connections, people that you can connect with, people that you have like good energy around, these things would happen like naturally. And so it's good opportunities to have. And the last the last taco, I mean, I love those tacos. Needless to say, it's one of my favorite foods from Mexico. And I was like, okay, this is my last day of eating, Mexican tacos for a while. And yeah, this is why I took that picture. And then the last landmark that I wanted to visit is the Monument to the Revolution. And I thought it was just, like a kind of a door there, like a kind of a statue or something like that. but it turns out it's a full museum that they have going on there. And those are not stairs that you have. That is actually an elevator that take you to the upper part of the building, where there is actually a cafeteria, like not a like a cafe, and it's really interesting. This is actually how it looks inside of that. It's such a beautiful place, such an interesting place to visit, and it's like super cheap to get in. And then that was it. That was the whole experience. I know it's been a long video, but this is me saying, okay, I'm ready to come back to Costa Rica after 3 months of being there in Mexico City. It was time to come back. All right, conclusions. First of all, I would say this trip was important in terms of connections. This was my favorite thing of going to this trip. The people that I met, the feeling that, okay, they can understand me, they can value who I am, they can understand who I am and value for me for who I am. That was such an incredible experience, and also new experiences, things that I never seen before. For instance, the military parade, or the Mexican Venice, which is Xochimilco, or different things like that. I mean, it's things I've never experienced before, that this is like so valuable to me. Also, I would say it was a great opportunity to learn different things and grow. I think that I was able to learn different things for my business. The difficult things, the challenges that I had, it was like, I would say, the growth. It's like applying what I've been learning to difficult and challenging situations. Things about emotional intelligence. For example, when I was there locked down in Isla Mujeres with COVID, I had to really apply what I've been learning, and I think that was growth. That helped me to grow. That helped me to have like different perspectives and stuff. And so I'd say that it's really good. And also something that was very important during this trip was the opportunities to help other people. And this is Skillshare that I show you guys about, that I did in Salina. That's when I learned, oh my God, I love being able to use what I've been creating, or what I've been discovering for my business, and use it to help other people, to help other creative entrepreneurs. I think this gave me a different direction for my business, where I not only want to design stunning brand identities, but also I want to help other creative entrepreneurs. So in the future, I will be creating other digital products and things like that, geared towards helping my other fellow creative entrepreneurs. It was really good. And it also, I think it was important in terms of context, because, for instance, last year, December the 24th, my car just burned up in flames. It had like a leak of gasoline, and it just exploded, or almost exploded. But it was all up in flames, and it was total damage. It was totally burned. And to me, that was it was very sad. I was like, okay, I lost my car that I've been with me for 15 years. So I consider it like a classic. And to me, that was like such a sad experience, but I think I was able to put it in the right context. I was able to see how, yes, it was sad, but it was not me locked down with COVID in Isla Mujeres. So I think that all those experiences gave me the context to really give this other experience the right dimension, because I think that's what sometimes we need, this context that allows us to measure things, give the right measure to things. So that was really important for me. And also experience having freedom. So to me, freedom is having options. So you want to go visit one week these pyramids, okay, you have the option to. You want to go one day to eat tacos in the street, so you can do that. So you have a lot of options. I would say that Mexico is a land of options, and most of them, they're very affordable. So it's really good to experience that feeling of having more options available, which at the end, I believe that's what freedom is all about. Okay, so here are some lessons that I learned in my trip, first time as a digital nomad in Mexico. So first of all, have flexible plans, because you don't have a lot of information that you would need to make like concrete plans. So make plans, that's good, but make sure that those are flexible, so that you can adjust while you're there. So that's really good. Another thing is make sure you have a stable income if you want to travel and work at the same time. So in my case, I didn't have like a stable income. I had some money saved, but I was always like with this concern of, oh my God, I'm spending like a lot of money. My savings are going to run out or stuff like that. But the digital nomads that I was meeting there, they already had their stable income. They had already their budget, how much they would be able to spend. And so they didn't have like this constant concern of, oh my God, I'm going to run out of money, because they knew that next month they would have more coming in. So I would say if you want to travel and work at the same time, have a stable income first and then do it. Then have an emergency budget, because there's always going to be something that is going to happen unexpectedly and that is going to affect your budget. And if you don't have, something saved up for those kind of instances, then your whole experience is going to be like pretty much compromised. Then consider transportation. This is really good because, for instance, that's what I didn't do when I was flying to Cancun. I didn't consider, okay, how am I going to move from Cancun to Playa del Carmen once I arrived? I didn't consider that when I was booking the plane ticket, and so that cost me a lot in hotels, transportation to the hotel, and so on and so forth. So consider transportation before buying your plane tickets. Another thing is like try to limit your consumption of street food. I'm not saying don't eat street food, but I would say that because the type of food that you would find in the street has a lot of is high in fat, sugar, salt, stuff like that. Then it's not the most healthiest option. And something that I noticed was with some friends that I had, it was like they have some stomach problems. And I didn't experience that, but yeah, like a lot of my friends, they were experiencing like some stomach issues because of how heavy maybe the food was on their stomach. So just have that in mind so you don't go crazy with the street food. And then I learned in my case that it took me like 2 weeks to adjust to a new place. Sorry for the barking dog. These 2 weeks, it was for me to adjust to a new reality, to know where do I go to wash my clothes, where do I go to buy groceries, stuff like that. So you just adjust, and then once those 2 weeks passed, I was like, okay, so this is my new reality, this is my new home, and I just felt like more comfortable. And then that's part of the other advice is like try to have like a base home, where you live at least for 1 month, so you can have like this whole experience of the place, and then from there use it like a home base to visit in the weekends, like different places, different other places, different attractions that you can do like in a weekend. So that would be, so for me, that's one of the things that I learned, and I really want to keep doing it. And yeah, so that you can take small trips to more like touristy places. I think that I learned is like I love going to Playa del Carmen, but I think I went there for 2 weeks, and I don't like to go to a touristy place for more than 2 weeks or for more than a weekend or so, because it's like you go to Disneyland. You go and when you arrive, you're like, oh my God, look at all this. But what happens if you go the next day? You're going to say, yeah, okay, the same thing. And the next day and the next day. And if you do that for 2 weeks, you're going to be bored of Mickey Mouse. So that's how I see, this type of touristy places, that once you arrive, it's like a lot to take in, but then it becomes like the same thing, and the same thing over and over the next days. And never allow fear to steal your happiness. That's the next advice. That's one of the biggest lessons that I put in my heart after all that trip is like, because you didn't allow your fear to steal your happiness, because you didn't allow to, because I think the fear is just a signal. It's not saying don't do it. It's saying do it, but with a good amount of precaution, because this can be dangerous. And so because I never allowed that fear to steal my happiness, I was able to, go to Mexico and have all these experiences that I'm sharing with you. And yeah, so that's going to be my mantra for a long time, at least. never allow fear to steal your happiness. Do it afraid. Do it. That's what courage is all about. And if you want to work and travel at the same time, just do it. Just go there and book a plane ticket, book a hotel or an Airbnb. Don't think too much about it. Don't overthink it. And I'm sure you're going to have a great experience. All right, guys, this has been one of the longest videos that I have done so far. I'm not sure if anybody is watching this at this point, but if you are, thank you so much. And if you want to see another video, a video where I'm talking about why I'm deciding to become a digital nomad, then watch this video right here that I'm going to put somewhere and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so far. I'm going to be posting content about brand design, and also I'm going to be sharing my experience as I go as a creative entrepreneur. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, never allow fear to steal your happiness.